All right, I'm back. It's John Alite Show. Hit the subscribe button. Watch last week's show, UFC fighter Dennis, and my buddy, and he's going to be a future champ. So we're going to get into it. Check out my hat first off. Vote Donald Trump. Vote for freedom, democracy. He's the American family first president. And I don't just say that by his actions. 4 years, we know what he did and what he does. And now we're at wars everywhere, and we have incompetent people running this country, sending money to foreign countries and not taking care of our own here, the inner city. These kids are suffering, the schools, the health care, housing, and the money's going to illegal immigrants. It's going to Ukraine. It's going everywhere but Hezbollah to Iran. And I could continue on with the money they're sending overseas that is not Yemen. And yet, for the disaster relief, they want to give $750. And there's no help to be found in sight. And Mayorkas said they're out of money. Imagine the insult. But I'm going to get into something today. I want to read this to you. It's a little preview of my next guest. And by the way, I still have my guest, Dennis, here. He's in the background, so once in a while he might pop in and join us in conversation. He'll be off camera. Here we go. So the guest I'm bringing is a good friend of mine, too. His name is David Simon. We've been friends for years. David's a Jewish businessman that finished as an amateur boxing. He taught promoting Israel's right to exist. In 2020, has since started a boxing charity event raising money for United States Marines, Navy, all armed forces, veterans, families who's perished, for children who lost their parents and given their life for this country. David is here to talk about Jewish perspective on the election. He's got an interesting background. His dad left him when he was 2 years old, grew up fighting in Bayside, Lindenwood, New Hyde Park, and East Flatbush. His grandfather raised him. His grandfather's name was George Kane. Now, I knew of his grandfather since we're kids. I know David since we're young. George was one of the last of Murder, Inc., his grandfather, Jewish syndicate from Brownsville. He ran coffee for Abe Ellis and Sammy and Bugsy. Goldstein, all of them, they all stayed with his grandfather. Stayed in Brooklyn until his passing in 1992. George ran numbers with Big Julia Weintraub in Vegas and Tony Ducks, Corralo, Sammy Goldstein. George also did work with Morris Levy and Corky Vestola in the music business. He was partners with Meade Esposito and solved union disputes in Brooklyn's with Jimmy Rotundo. Now, David survived 2 wars himself with Anthony Capo and descendants of Crazy Joe Gallo. In 1991, my old buddy, John Gotti Jr., took up for David. David's here. He's a tough Jew. His grandfather raised him right. His grandfather was part of Meyer Lansky, Judge Nathan Perlman, and gave the New York wannabe Nazis in 1940. He's got so much I could tell you about it, so much work he's done with kids. He's built homes for people out of the country, and we'll get into some of this. Great guy, great human being, and really, I got to tell you, he's going to speak for himself if he comes here. Let me just get him as a knock right now. Hold on a second. How are you, David?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
You're looking
Give
good.
a little introduction. I wrote
Thank
some
you.
of it out. I got to ask you my first question because
Yes,
I
sir.
introduced you as,
Is there a camera here?
yeah, you look at that camera
Oh,
there
okay.
or this one here.
Okay, good.
All right. This is something I looked up, and I think Teshuva. What does
Yeah.
that mean? I wanna see.
Forgiveness.
Okay.
Forgiveness. So this is the week of Rosh Hashanah. And Thursday, Friday was the first 2 days. The book opens. And as the Jewish community sees this, is that now you have 10 days till Yom Kippur to repent for your sins, like Lent.
Right.
And after that, the book closes and the year's set. So Teshuva is a week of Teshuva. And
How do we, I
Yeah.
got to cut you
oh,
off.
go, please do.
How do we forgive, me as a human being, how do I forgive Hamas for what they just did on October 7th? It's been a year. How do I forgive this administration, Kamala Harris, that they don't talk about 100 hostages are still missing? Israeli Jews, American Jews, families around the world that lost their loved ones. How do you forgive that?
Well, it's interesting. They say you can forgive, but don't forget. And everyone's entitled to forgiveness because, in my life, I grew up with some hardships. And I'm sure Most people had situations in their life there, but you don't forget. So, in my mind, can I forgive the atrocities of 10/7? That's a tough one, because as a Jew, I could tell you the people that I talk to, they poke the bear. We can be nice people, but we're also can be, when you touch our blood, we go to another level.
Well, I know, I
Yeah,
said this
yeah.
before you came in, actually, an introduction,
Thank
but we have a lot of similarities, me and you. And
Yes,
we
sir.
know each other for a lot of years. We didn't hang out, but we were friendly. We hello, goodbye. And I know you're a tough guy in the ring.
Thank you.
You're still fighting. You're still doing charity work, boxing,
Thank you.
and things like. But I got to tell you, it's very difficult. And for people to understand, I do feel for the Palestinian people. So do you. The kids that are dying. We spoke about this
Mm-hmm.
the other day in the street when we were walking. And no doubt we don't want to see this. But in my opinion, Hamas has started this and caused and they're the suppressors of 3/4 of the Palestinian people that are not behind them.
100%.
And there's a ton of them that are not behind Hamas and the terrorist things they did. I don't know any good human being, man, woman, Arab, Muslim, Catholic, any religion you could name, Jew, that is okay with killing kids partying in the street. And so I just wanted some of your opinions on this.
So I'll jump on that So, there's 22 Arab nations. There's 5 million square miles of Arab nations. They expelled 1 million Jews over the last 40 years. They threw us, it's called diaspora. They didn't care where we landed. Because of 1948, we got Israel back. And I'll talk about why it's back. But more importantly now, we have a democracy there. And I don't know if you heard of Kahani.
Yes.
He was a tough guy from Brooklyn who sat on a soapbox to say, we'll have a democracy, but they're not going to be in our government. They'll be in our government, they can't vote. And how can you do this? The guy yesterday on CBS News, Tony Dablowski, with this fellow who's the writer on this book. I don't know if you read about this yet.
No.
It's a big thing. He questioned the person's motive in the book that he wrote that was on CBS. And the guy said, well, I like to hear voices on pain. And I want to help those people. I think he should do a little more homework when you see this, that this person was saying how wrong Israel was. But the backstory.
I got to cut you for one second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because
Yeah.
Dennis is in studio off
Yeah.
camera. For the Albanians that don't know this, we were a big supporter in World War II with the Holocaust, with the
Huge.
Jews. There's actually museums in Albania because
Yes.
we brought them in. We brought families in, Jews, and we kept them safe with us and
100%.
protecting them. Because I hear a lot of people that are constantly writing me about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I come from, again, I'm going to say it on this show, I come from a Muslim family, a Muslim background. And good Muslim people don't rape women and kill girls and kids and women. What goes on in war between men, whether we agree or not, but we don't kill women and torture
The majority are good. The majority of it's the 80-20, right? 80% of the people are good people.
Well, our president in Albania, Eddie Rami, just made a speech at the United Nations.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
And
we
he spoke
discussed
very
that.
highly of Israel and
it's-
denouncing Hamas.
Listen, there's good and
For
bad
the
in
people that are
everything, John.
questioning sometimes what I'm saying, or they believe I have motives here. I don't have motives.
Your motive is Teshuva.
Exactly, and
I
my
know.
motive is.
And you're also trying to give back to make sure that people don't make mistakes. I spend my whole life doing that, as you know. And, the things I do with these kids in different orphanages, I don't know if you want to get into that now, but, with Albania, listen, my Albanian friends, I was going through a tough time in my business. I sold it. I had some things going on. I tried things. And Albanian Muslims is the one who put me back on the map. So to me, I've seen it firsthand.
This ain't a Muslim thing. I don't like when
It's
they
not.
say it is because, the Iranian people are being suppressed and killed left.
They
and
don't
right.
want the
And
Hamas there. They don't want
Hamas.
Hezbollah.
They don't want the Iranian government. They're killing them like crazy. You have the Muslims. I bring it up all the time. The Uyghurs in China that have been abused and tortured for years.
Thank you. I'm glad you're saying this.
So there's so many deaths to Muslims around the world that no one's speaking out about.
In China.
And now you have the situation with Palestinians and you have the situation with Ukraine and Russia. Nobody wants the wars of citizens to be dying, of these these kids to die. But I blame 3/4 of this on our government for funding Hezbollah, for funding Iran, that's funding these groups, these terrorist groups. And that means the more money they fund Iran with, they're using it to bomb Israel, to bomb American ships. And
By the way,
the counter bombing is causing lives of Palestinians. So I blame it on Kamala Harris. And
you
Joe
and I
Biden.
spoke over the years, and one of the biggest things that you have said to me that I agree with is that back in the day, my grandfather was partners with Meade Esposito.
Right. I spoke about this a little bit.
Oh, you did? Okay. And him and Jimmy, you mentioned Jimmy.
Right, Rotundo, yeah.
They solved all the union disputes. They all sat down. They represented brilliantly, and there was peace. And forgive me for forgetting, but that what we just saying. I'm sorry, this is me being 60. That I can't remember where I was going just now. What were you just saying about?
But the deaths of Palestinian kids, Israel, the money that the United States.
Thank you. It just came back to me. And so what we both agreed on is that the gangsters controlled the politicians back in the day. The gangsters have been somewhat removed. Now the politicians think they're gangsters. So when you have a party on the left and a party on the right, you have some righteous people and you have some gangster wannabes, and have no one there to stop them. So their piggish greed goes to another level. I'm not saying, because I just want to be honest, that I've never met any of these people. If I read on the left, I get frustrated what they say about the right. If I read on the right, and I get frustrated what they say about the left.
David, you have Kamala Harris that went on Howard Stern yesterday.
It was ridiculous.
Who's a Jew.
Howard
Stern did not say a word.
Is a piece of shit.
But Howard Stern didn't say one word about 100 hostages.
I was on the show 3 times.
But there's 100 hostages. He didn't ask Kamala Harris one question. Why have you not said anything about 100 hostages?
Listen, what he
Dennis,
did.
Did you hear that on Howard Stern?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
What he did there, he also said Saturday Night Live is making fun of you and it's not right. He spent his whole career making fun.
Well, he made his whole
people.
career exploiting women. I said it on
women, black, everything.
But Kamala Harris
and now he's saying they should be nice
that.
to you. Listen. The First Amendment is at risk right now, and this is the most important thing. It's like to me a nuclear missile. If you fuck with the First Amendment, a lot of people will go. I have friends who I love who are Democrats, and they say things. My eyes go. I have friends my eyes go. So. Who knows what each individual...
Well, this is not our opinions. Hillary Clinton went out verbally and said, we got to get rid of the First Amendment for disinformation. Who are we going to trust her? The liar that she did in Benghazi?
She's a gangster.
Because I had John Tigg on. Who, John Kerry, that lied, said he was on a U-boat? He's another liar.
Gangster.
We had Tim Walz from Minnesota, VP, who said he misspoke. No, you didn't misspoke. You lied. You out and out lied. There's a difference between misspeaking and lying. Another liar. They all want to get rid of the First Amendment. I says the First Amendment is what they're attacking. They're attacking President Trump nonstop with lies and that First Amendment and controlling the media like any other communist country. So when people like us are on the air and we have guys that are legitimate fighting for this country, for the youth in this country, and I'm talking about Dennis now, in a good way, or you're fighting in rings for charities, for the homeless
Marines,
kids, and for
children,
Marines, and you traveled. Where'd you travel around? You built
I
houses.
did Israel's Right to Exist tour in 2020 before.
Where'd you go to
10/7.
Ukraine?
Oh, and the Ukraine was another thing. With a group of us, we opened up a Jewish orphanage for homeless kids.
Well, the point is,
Tikva.
and that's some of the things I'm saying. You guys are doing positive things. When you have this kind of administration doing nothing but negative things, not even talking about 100 hostages, some American, and funding Iran to fund Hezbollah with $187 million.
Money will
They want
always,
they want the wars. They want the
money
deaths
will
in
pull the
Palestine.
greed.
Under Trump, there would be no deaths with Palestine. There were no deaths with Palestinian. People better understand he was in office for 4 years and Palestinian kids weren't dying. Now they're dying. So they better think about that when this government manipulates against President Trump, they better realize nobody was dying in Ukraine. Nobody was dying in Russia. Nobody was dying in Palestine. But now everybody's dying. Nobody was dying in Israel.
No, the world's not at peace.
So it's not at peace. They're the ones that are bringing division. They're the ones that bring up race. They're the ones that say blacks are too stupid to get identification to vote. You imagine how racist that is, that Democratic Party saying that?
Unbelievable.
It is the most craziest thing I ever heard them say. And at the same time, when they say that, they screw them and give all their money and jobs to illegal immigrants. And people wonder why I sit on these shows and talk so negatively about Kamala Harris, that she's saying you're going to bring 4 years of joy after she brought 4 years of funerals. almost 4 years of kids dying left and right, like
No
my
good.
daughter from fentanyl, kids being raped, kids being killed. You have illegal immigrants from all these countries that were released from prisons that are attacking people's houses, attacking apartment buildings. And she sits there on her hands
Mind blowing.
and says nothing on Howard Stern. What kind of Jew is he when everybody's dying in the street, kids are getting beat up going to school? And they're enticing this.
I didn't see it. I just saw a clip. Did he say anything about Israel?
Nothing.
And I didn't bring a word.
Not a word. Like he's not a Jew. I'd love to see this guy back in the days with the Nazis. I'd love to see what they would do to him. This guy forgets what he does, and his arrogance because all his jokes
I'm so
and all
I'm
his
so
abuse of
disappointed in
women
him.
over the years, and she sat there like she's a
Yeah.
women's rights advocate. It's incredible. But go back to
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But all the work you've been doing with
Oh,
kids.
thank you. Yeah, no, listen, I understand. So, I don't know how much you said before I was here, but yeah, my dad left when I was 2, and I grew up in Bayside, and I used to spend the weekends in Lindenwood and Howard Beach, play the stickball by the wall bounds and everything like that. And so I got a little exposure to some of the life over there on Cross Bay Boulevard, and then went to Herrick's High School. So I was on the street, quite honestly. I don't know if you knew that part, but I was homeless from 19.
I know.
Oh, okay. And
You had a rough life,
well, you know what? Compared to everybody
and you're
else,
a good father.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Well, the way I look at it, everything's for a reason, right? Every life is 4 generations, 20, 20, and 20. My first generation was chosen to be the way it was. And when I was on the street and I saw people doing crazy things, I would get in a lot of fights. I can honestly say I won most of them. I got hit from behind. I remember I came home. My mother said, "What did you do? Now are you okay?" And so it was what it was. But my point was, after 9th and 10th grade, I started playing basketball, and then basketball really saved my life because I realized I could be on the street in 2 ways. I could be in the handball courts, the basketball courts, or I could sit there and just be stupid, and look for problems. So I caught on to basketball. I had good fortune in that sport. I played a year professionally, but it
How
made
tall are you?
6'3". It was in a
And
6'1".
Dennis is a UFC fighter.
Yeah, I know, man. That's great. I can only strike. I never could figure out the legs because who's that guy, Jones?
Yeah,
it blows
John
my mind
Jones.
what he does with his hips.
He's amazing.
Right. No, he's lethal. The first time I saw him, I said to myself, this guy's...
I would say if there's any human man in history, one-on-one, he would take any human man in history.
I saw him fight a couple of times. I just no one's ever beaten this guy. And I can't believe all the trouble he's gone into. I was shocked because that discipline.
Yeah.
And that's, by the way, I'm going to leak into what I'm talking about. So when I realized that sports made me think like a winner, my kids, fast forward, played football in college. And the reason why I promoted that since they were kids, first of all, I just didn't like the AAU thing in basketball. I felt that was like, every dad negotiating for their kid. I didn't like that. When I played ball, I begged to get on the court, by myself. And then you played good enough, so you stayed. And then you go to different neighborhoods. But my point was that when my kids played football, what I noticed is they were the only Jew on the field when they played in college, maybe another one. And when everyone prayed and took a knee, the Muslim and the Jew stood up. And I remember saying to myself, this is the greatest life lesson, because they see that the world is those numbers as far as, opinions of influence, if you will. So with that, my kids don't see race, they don't see creed, they don't see color. I once spoke at a place of black real estate people. And I said, guys, one of the things that you have to understand is God takes your soul when you pass. It doesn't take the bones, it doesn't take the skin. I said, if you can get past that and play by the soul and the scriptures, you're going to find life to be really enjoyable. So going back, I truly believe in that because there was 2 black guys who actually saved my life when I was on the street. Guys asked me to play. I played really well. Next thing I know, these guys are my brothers, and I love them. And because of my life, I owe it to them. So to me,
I think when you grow up in the street like any of us, I go back to Brownsville. I had a guy, Dan, that's always here with me. Not always, but him and another guy, Mike, he passed away. And a great guy. And Dan and me are very good friends. His son just got out of jail. I want to bring them back on. But what I'm getting to the point is when you grow up in the neighborhoods or in the street, none of us look at color or race or
can you see me when I'm
religion.
an open man?
None of us.
Can you tackle the guy if I miss him?
I think this.
If I'm in trouble, can you hit him for me? Like, this is the guy takes you back. You're like,
I don't
I'm
like
with you.
I don't like the division that especially this party has brought more than any party in the past. I think Obama started it with the race. He did nothing for his people. And then I think now you got this new nonsense with Kamala Harris that is using the race and division, and they're constantly dividing. And you know, the people who grew up like us, or Albanians, where we were always suppressed over centuries there, and you know, we were forced into religion years ago with the Turks and Muslim. We don't look at each other, well, he's Christian, or he's Catholic, or he's Muslim, or he's Jewish. We
It's a
never
waste
had
of
that
time.
outlook.
I always look at the world that
I
someone's
mean, we never had, your family doesn't have that outlook either, does it?
Yeah.
What descent are you?
Look, I'm Albanian also. I've known John for how many years now? Maybe 7 years?
Yeah.
6
7,
years?
Yeah, something like that.
This is the first time he's mentioned that he grew up in a Muslim family. You know, so as Albanians, we never talk about religion. It just doesn't divide us.
My grandfather's name was Ali. My father was Muhammad.
You see, that's
My
interesting.
grandmother was Sadefa. My other grandmother was Fatima. My uncle was Salam. And I said it a couple of times in some other shows, but we don't look at religions, we don't judge anybody by any kind of skin or anything. We judge them as a human being.
Can I say something here, please, on this topic?
Yeah.
Because this is one of the things I did want to talk about. You know, just so everyone knows, I have Muslim friends who I speak to, and we get pretty deep on theological stuff because I'm like, stop the bullshit. We're cousins, we're brothers. Don't let the extremists get in your head. And they don't. They don't want to talk out loud because they don't want to piss them off and get cut. So when Abraham had 2 kids, he had the first one, Ishmael, and he had the second one, Isaac. Because it was out of wed, he did the wrong thing. He kicked out Ishmael and then said, Isaac, you're my guy. Now, why am I telling you this story? Because when he took him up on the mountain, you know, with the whole Rosh Hashanah thing, sacrifice, God said so. Well, he didn't. Sarah died from that whole thing because she couldn't believe that he was going to kill her son. He ended up going back to Hagar. Jews and Muslims agree on this. Ended up going back to Hagar and said, you know, I threw you out. I was wrong. And he had 7 more children with her. So Ishmael, who was a rebel, ended up being a righteous man. So I tell all my Muslim friends, here's the catch now. When my dad left, 6 months before he died, I got a call he's about to die. I went to North Carolina. I paid my respects. I found out Ishmael paid his respects to Abraham, even though he got kicked out. And I forgave. And I forgave my father. And he said, I'm sorry, it worked out this way.
Forgiveness, Teshuva.
Back to Teshuva, right? Teshuva. And so my point is this. So Ishmael was a righteous man. He died a righteous man. And his descendants are righteous. The Muslim community is born righteous. What happened along the way? Well, this is the writings of I've never read the Quran, but when I speak to my Muslim friends, they agree with everything I just said. Someone didn't know that Abraham finished with them. I'm like, no. He gave the rights to the land of Israel. And the word Israel is named after Jacob. I'm Yisrael Chai. You hear that a lot. You'll see it on shirts. Descendants of Israel. So it was Abraham's, it's written in Genesis that he wanted Isaac to have it. And it was because of a firstborn blessing that Jacob bought from Esau that he got the blessing from Isaac, and it became the 12 tribes. So my point is this, and I wish somebody in Iran will get this, or wherever, not even Iran, whoever sees Islam, which is morphed outside of the Muslim community, because it happened, Muhammad showed up 700 AD after Jesus and had a vision with Gabriel, the angel. So I don't know what that vision was, and I've never spoken to anyone about it, so I have no input on it. But all I do know is Ishmael was a righteous person, and the Muslim people are righteous people. The fact that 22 Arab nations, 5 million square miles, are upset about the 8,000 square miles of Israel, we were kicked out of 22 Arab nations, 40 years, 1 million people. Where are we supposed to go? 1948, they gave us Israel back.
Let me ask you a question. I got to cut you.
So we're not stopping. We're not leaving.
Why is the rest of the Arab countries not allowing Palestinians, when Israel was bombing them, to get back at Hamas? Why wouldn't they allow them in their countries?
And how do I say this in a very diplomatic way? Okay? The Saudis, the how do you say UES?
UAE.
United
Emirates.
United, excuse me for being so not intelligent on remembering that. And Jordan, and I can't remember the other one. These are capitalists who are making money, and because of the Abraham Accord, they're about to do business with Israel. These extremists said, ain't happening. We can't let this happen. We can't let Israel get stronger in that little spot of theirs. So, and this is why the whole thing started in 10-7.
But why don't the Palestinians understand
Here we
nobody
go.
was dying
Ready?
under Trump?
Ready? It's a real when you hear the answer, you're going to go, it's a no brainer. Ready? When you're a capitalist and you're making money and you buy a nice house, you want a capitalist next to you who buys a nice house, who has capitalist theories, who says, "Oh, free enterprise. We're going. You know what? You do business. I don't like the way you do business. We won't do business. Okay, everyone, move on." Right? Easy. But then when you become an extremist, you have Shahara. Right? The Shahara law now says you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't talk here, you can't wear this. That gets a little extreme.
All right, let me ask you now.
Now socialism appears. Now communism appears.
Let me cut you off.
Those
Can women under Hamas say whatever they want?
no.
Wait. Can
A gay person have a gay
person,
relationship?
right.
No.
Okay. Can transgender exist? under Hamas?
No. They hang them upside down, gut them like a deer.
Okay. Can the Hamas wants what? They want to get rid of
They
the
want women to
existence
just
of
show
Israel.
this because
No, wait, but Hamas wants the no existence of the Jew, Israeli Jew,
no
or any
Jew.
Jew.
Any Jew.
Okay. So I'm getting to a point. So why is it these college kids here, Americans, are walking in the
It's an
street
easy answer.
singing from
It's an easy answer. I'll tell you why. 90% of them don't know the full history. I know some my friends know this. I left my business in 2009 to study. And I studied for 5 years. I spoke to Christians. I spoke to Muslims. I studied the Chumash, which is the Torah. I know, whether you agree or not, this is what's written from Samuel, from the prophet. This is what's written. This is all documentation, right? No one spread that. What's happening is if the gay person in New York is saying, I'm not accepted, they're not accepted, I'm going to take the back of the people who aren't accepted. Okay, that sounds great. But dig in a little deeper and understand the reason why they're not accepted is because you, my gay friend, are not allowed to live there. They didn't tell you that part.
Now, I want to ask you the next question. The Jews.
Yeah.
Why is so many Jews, not so many, but a percentage of them, not understanding that under Trump, there was no wars. There was no Israel dying, no Israelis, people dying. There was no Palestinians dying.
You ready? I'm going to tell you right now.
Ukrainians dying. No, why aren't anybody
you use the word
understanding
Trump.
this?
I personally like him. Whether I'm voting for him or not, I have not disclosed yet. But obviously, I believe in everything he's doing, and I don't want to offend my friends who are Democrats. I really don't. But at the same time, everyone knows where I stand.
Well, this is a guy from Italy calling now.
Oh,
1 second.
Okay.
And I'm going to do this on the air.
Yeah.
Tom, I'm on the air while you're calling, so I'm in studio. But yeah, hold on a second. I'm going to call you back because I want to give an opinion about you guys. Okay. So here's what I'm going to get because I'm glad he called.
The First Amendment is the reason why nobody knows they own the press.
Well, yesterday when we were rallying in front of Trump Towers, for the people that don't know, it's on YouTube. You'll see that we put it out. There was a French woman there. There was an Iranian woman.
Yeah, there were a lot of women there.
There was a Chinese,
more women than men.
Chinese woman there.
Mm-hmm.
There was Ukrainian
A Hindu.
guy there.
A
There was
Hindu
a
Jew.
Hindu there. There was a Russian. And all in support of what I was doing for President Trump with the rally.
Because they live with this.
Right. So they
live with the end result.
Right. And they were all saying the same thing I'm saying right here. They can all say whatever, but under President Trump, there were no children dying. There was no Palestinian kids suffering.
There's no fentanyl.
So there was no fentanyl. But I'm talking about fentanyl destroyed so many lives. We're
So
just
many
talking about
lives.
Walter that's off camera.
You don't
also
read
is
about
running
half
in the
of them.
background. Just lost a cousin, correct?
I'm
So
sorry
you
to
have
hear
so
that.
many people. This is not normal, but you have so many deaths.
Socialism.
How is everybody not waking up to this is what I'm trying
It's
to understand.
mind-blowing. It's the First Amendment.
6 million Jews
You
died.
ready for this?
What are they thinking?
My rabbi said at the Rosh Hashanah, he says, how come when the holidays of Jews were on the campuses at Columbia and everything like that, not one news person showed it? You would think they'd say, hey, problem solved, everyone's starting to get free again. No, they keep showing the hatred.
But why did Chuck Schumer, who's a Jew,
Chuck Schumer, you
is
know
a
what?
sellout Jew, no
he
different?
is such a disappointment.
Because, well, I'm making
He's
a point.
such a disappointment.
Because they want the wars. They
Votes.
make money. They make money.
And the
they want
votes.
and the vote. Well, the Palestinian people, why are they not understanding? These kids weren't dying under Trump.
By the way, going back to
understand
what
it.
you're saying, because there's a great book that I suggest everyone reads called Abba Eben, My People. And it's a reformed history from Adam and Eve to today. Oh, not to today. It was
They're manipulating these kids in these countries. It's amazing. to
Abba
me that they
Eben.
get to
If you get a
manipulate.
chance, read Abba Eben, everyone. So my point is that going back first to your Palestinian thing, the terrorism is a business. With all due respect, the mob was a business, right? My grandfather, we didn't. I don't
But the
want to
mob
say
loved
things.
them, and I'm speaking up for the mob now. Were not anti.
They were civil.
Yeah, they were civil.
They are civil.
They didn't.
They're good.
They weren't anti-America. These people
Yeah,
don't want freedom.
Thank you, Lucky Luciano, Maya Lansky, all those guys.
Lucky Louisiana helped during the war.
Of course, the whole thing they with the so and I grew up in a house that my mother would say to me, "Did you listen to Pop today?" Meaning her father. So if my mother would be saying that to me, it's not because she is so. She was just like, "This is how he does business, and this is what you should do." And so I never looked at it as a bad thing. They were always nice to me. Sammy Goldstein was like my uncle, and he was Tony Dux's right-hand guy, and Big Julie Weintraub. These were guys that were at my house. And I might as well say no. The judges were in the basement playing poker with Jim Rummy with my grandfather, where they were looking for the guy across the table.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, this is my mother used to joke about this. No one got hurt. No one. Barbarian bullshit. Maybe if you cross the guy personally and his family. You see, and the reason why the Palestinians are not in the other places is because they don't think like the other places, and they don't want them. They want them to stay there and bug the people that so badly wanted that land. Now you live with them. Now there's good Palestinians in the world. I am not going to generalize, and I would probably say that the majority of Palestinian Muslims don't want this. They don't want this. They want peace. But they can't. I have Muslim friends who says, Dave, I can't really talk about this publicly, but it's crazy.
60-70% are anti-Hamas, or at least 50-50,
Of
and maybe
course.
more. But you just said it right. It's 50-50, and I bet you it's 80-20
Yeah.
are against Hamas,
Listen,
but they're afraid
when you
to
were
say
in
because their
school,
family will get
John,
killed.
With all due respect, I have a high regard for you. But when you were a teenager, you were the one that when you walked around, everyone made sure they didn't make eye contact with you because they did, and that's because you had your game on.
Yeah, but
All
John
right?
Gotti told us years ago, and I thought he was nuts as a kid, that the government's corrupt, they're the biggest gangsters around. And I thought he was nuts, and I've said it on other shows. Now I realize how smart he was and how ahead of the game he was. Because
he saw it.
He saw
lived
it.
it.
The same thing Donald Trump exposed to the world is why they hate him so much. They got to dehumanize him, so it's okay to kill him. It's okay to talk against him. It's okay to get the media to talk against him. But you have the mafia, and people ask me, well, you have open borders, you're letting in criminals all over. And they go, well, you were a criminal at one time. We weren't criminals against the public. We actually,
business.
but we kept our neighborhood safe. We protected our neighborhoods. There's a difference of the type of criminal they're allowing in now. These are people that are going after women,
anti-American.
children, going into their houses, killing them, robbing their stores, anti-American, things that we did to protect them. We fought with ourselves.
I'm so glad I remembered that you said this. I would like for both parties to agree that if you burn a flag, you go to jail.
I said this. You should get a 3-year sentence.
Automatically.
Burn a flag in Albania, and he'll tell you, Dennis, if you burn a flag, you don't have to go to the police. Our neighborhoods will
burn
kill
a flag, you go to jail.
You're dead.
Go look at the video, put them in jail, and whatever. Number two, and this is, I can't imagine, what the World War II, excuse me for being such a gavone here, not knowing. It was a Hiroshima. What was the one when they took the flag, the 7 guys, and they raised it, the big statues all over?
Oh, that was that Hiroshima?
Yeah, Hiroshima, right, okay. So, Hiroshima thing, that's like a moment, right? Raising the flag, what a proud moment. After 9/11, we put the flag up at Twin Towers. What a proud moment, right?
You know what an effing disgrace it is to leave out 45,000 homeless veterans on our street, and they just gave, in Maine, they gave apartments, beautiful apartments, for 2 years. They don't even pay an electric bill to illegal immigrants. It's insane what
because
they're doing.
Who's in with who?
The people that
the gangsters are the gangsters. The gangsters are the gangsters.
Kamala Harris didn't even go to the 13 fallen Gold Star family ceremony this year.
Let me just go back.
Who's
so
voting for this?
when you go around and you see flags, Hezbollah flags, Hamas flags in our city, how dare that not be a felony or a misdemeanor? You can't raise a flag if we're not in good standing. It's just those guys gave their lives to raise a flag. And these guys are coming in here raising flags. In theory, they conquered.
We have congresswomen that are actually raising these flags.
It should not happen.
They should be jailed for it.
If you're not in good standing, you can't raise the flag. And who's the judge on that? It's beyond my pedigree. But if we are in good standing with France and some guy wants to put a French thing on his car because he came from France and he's a great American, put the American and Israel flag together. Put the American Albanian flag together. Walk around. When I went, I got a call to help some people out in Kew Gardens once. There was a thing. They were saying they were going to rip the place apart at the temple. Some guy did a deal. I forgot what it was. I'm like, look, at the end of the day, I'm not a wannabe. I don't want to be. But when it comes to, quite honestly, the Jewish people or good Christian people or good Muslim people, I feel a level of, I can't explain why, but specifically now after 10/7, it's leaning to the Jewish people, quite candidly. I go to these things and I sit quietly. I might go with somebody and I wait if someone crosses the line because I so badly want to beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, but the problem is the Machiavelli by our government is pulling this Machiavelli of dividing. They're trying to make Palestinians hate the Jews. They're trying to make Catholics hate Protestants. They're trying to make racist comments, blacks against Chinese or this, whatever. They're trying this division.
Oh, I just remembered what I was going to say. Okay, got it. I'm glad you went. So what happened was I said to the police, I said, can I ask you guys a question? I said, look over there. I said, you see the Hezbollah, the Hamas, the Palestinian flag? He goes, yeah. I said, you see all the flags over here, the Israel flags with the American flags? I said, yeah. What's the problem? I said, does it occur to you that they don't have any American flags over there? I said, if they had American flags, I'd listen. They don't have an American flag there. They want to pile through you, the cops, the police. They don't want American law here. They don't. They want to do what they're doing. And I forgot who just recently said, I forgot where I read it, but what they're doing in France, what they're doing in London, what they're doing in Sweden and all these other places. Kahani, if you get a chance, Google him. He was one tough son of a gun, okay? He was a rabbi too, but he was a street guy, JDL, Jewish Defense League. And what he used to say was, I remember this Palestinian fella. If you Google it, you'll see the interview. He goes, I don't understand why the Palestinians can't be part of the government. This is racist. You can't let them vote. How dare you not let them vote? He said, who are you kidding? We let you come in, you vote, you have your other people come in. Next thing you know, we're out again. Now where do we go? So if you give us 5,000, it's like if someone comes to your house and says, do you mind if I use the basement in the corner just to put the mattress there? Honey, let them use the mattress. They don't want us in the corner in the mattress. So there's no place for us to go. So no, this is what we are. Israel is not moving. We will all rather die. Every Jew would rather die than let anyone have us be diaspora again. I'm telling you.
Then why do you have a percentage of
because they haven't gotten it. They haven't studied. They haven't looked. They don't realize, again, whether
they don't even stand up. They don't even stand up for Israel.
Listen, did you hear what happened the other day on 10/7? In Washington Square Park with the guy who got jumped?
Yeah, okay. I talked to you about it.
Right.
I was in Princeton. I did a talk. You remember I did a talk in Princeton? I sent you the video. There was Jews going against me that I was saying, how do you not stand up for Jews in Israel?
The Trump brand is brilliant, and it's also really not. Because the Trump brand has been, ready for this? You guys are going to like this. The swastika in Hindu means long life and beauty. I love the Hindu people, right? That fucking Hitler took the swastika and made long life for the killer of Jews and Christians and anyone who doesn't comply with Aryan values. So as far as I'm concerned, that's called branding to make the good guy the bad guy. You're now, every time you say Trump, what's happening is they're brainwashed.
I know that, but the brainwashed, but I'm going to go back to what I always say. Did he sign a 10-year university and college, black university and college bill from Tim Scott, Trump?
That's not First Amendment. Boom, blocked.
Did he stop any kind of wars around the world?
Boom, blocked. No one ever
Did any
it.
Palestinians ever die under Trump? No. This is what I said. This is very simple mathematics.
But you pay attention. You watch Fox News.
I don't watch every news. I watch
them all.
News
but
too.
they won't talk about the good things. And listen,
how do you have a woman running for presidency?
The Democratic Party,
1% likability.
The Democratic Party has owned the First Amendment since the time it started. Right? It's not going away. It's not this generation.
It's not the Democratic Party anymore. That's what I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with the middle road with, and I'll tell you who, Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Democrat, who no longer is because it's a communist party
Kennedy
now.
Jr.
I love Robert Kennedy Jr. He's
amazing.
He loves America.
That's a big set of balls.
Yeah, he's another guy that has the balls, and there's not too many that are coming out. They need to come out and say, this isn't the Democratic Party.
No one wants to get trashed by the press. I was on Twitter. I was on Facebook.
That's why
and I once wrote something. As a matter of fact, I remember exactly what it was. It was a comedian. And I don't want to say the comedian's name. And I said, you're one of my favorite comedians, but stay away from the politics. Fucking people were just coming after. It was crazy. And I said to myself, I don't want anything to do with social media. So I'm not on any social media. This is it. because I respect.
You got to have big shoulders on
I'm here
social
because
media.
I want to make sure that people understand, and I'm speaking to the Jews specifically. I don't care if you vote left. I don't care if you vote right. But I do care that you live to protect your land. Your children understand to protect your land. This
Well, I'm gonna
no
ask you-
Israel means your grandchildren are dead
Yeah, but I'm tell you something.
or in prison.
How did Hitler start? You know how he started? And you know history.
Well, he
better.
didn't pull in the Jews.
No, he started by dehumanizing the Jews.
Yes.
And the more you dehumanize the
Yes.
Jews, exactly what they're doing now. That's the rhetoric. And then these dummies, whoever's educated Jew in the United States, you got to be dumb, even if you're educated, not to see what's going to happen. You're going to wake up one day, 20 years from now, and your children and grandchildren are going to either be slaughtered or tortured. And it just happened 80 years ago. I don't know how dumb they could be. I mean, I don't get it.
No, you see, I got to tell you, let me tell you another thing. My friend knows who I'm talking about right now. He's listening. We'll just call him my golfing buddy. He is very pro-Jewish, very pro-Israel. And he thinks that, and he's not wrong because of what he reads that they say that they're doing. So in his mind, he thinks that they're doing is right.
What are they doing? They sent $1 trillion from the Green Deal. You can't even charge a car anywhere.
My point is this. Everyone's brainwashed, by the way. We're brainwashed. They're brainwashed. Everyone's brainwashed. We are. We have, as much as we think, like you could sit in solitary for a month and come out mentally strong.
I wish a month.
Yeah, right. A year, but you come out strong. You're like, I got to keep strong because I got to keep up with the situation here, right? Because there's no time to fucking. Our freedoms and our liberties are slowly being plucked, in my opinion. And I'm saying left and right. I don't want to upset any sides of the aisle because we need everyone to get on the same page.
Here's the difference.
We need to get on the same
Let me
page
tell you something.
quickly.
Because
they're going to come in. The communists are coming in.
But the people don't
Shahara
know.
law is going to come in.
Democratic
this country
Party
is fucking going to be in serious trouble.
Yeah, but David,
Go.
the Democratic Party wants big government. Donald Trump wants small government.
But that's always
Ronald
been.
Reagan wanted small government. So the bigger the government, the less control you have of your personal self.
I like to see the government employees become private enterprise people. You want to know why? Because as far as I'm concerned, the most intelligent people come in every race, creed, and color. There's people a million miles north looking at Earth going, they're all one people. Look at the closer they get, they go, look at the jerk-offs
Dennis,
dividing each other.
I'm sorry to cut you off. What football team do you like?
I guess Giants.
Okay, so you're a Giant fan. If they were going to play the Cowboys tomorrow and you knew the Cowboys were going to win 100%, who you betting with your money?
The ones who's winning.
Okay, because it's your pocket, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I keep saying to America. Doesn't matter who you like. Under what government did you have more money? Under what government? And I'm getting to the point with Trump. You don't got to like
But
him.
by the way, they're hearing that they have more money on their side from their news.
Well, they don't go to the store. They don't go buy food. They don't go to a restaurant. They don't go buy gas. They don't see their electric bill. They don't see the interest rates. They don't
I'm not
see
disagreeing.
inflation.
I'm just telling you
How
what
stupid
the
could you be?
feedback is.
You can't even buy a house under this administration.
How much is interest on the mortgage these days?
It's about 7%.
Almost 7, yeah.
Okay, so they would say, that that's still low. It's not as
They can
low
say
as it
anything they
was.
want. Under Trump, it was 2%. Inflation was non-existent. It was 1.5%. This is the highest ever. Food costs are friggin' almost doubled. To get bacon, it's $10, $11 a pound.
And that's all of the. By the way, that's
joke.
all.
My electric bill went up 30.
My friend, who knows who he
What's
is,
there to say?
is
Gas
in the
prices
trucking
are double.
business, and he said to me, Dave, the fuel rise. Who, by the way, a shout out to him. I love him. He knows who he is. The fuel rises have destroyed the cost of all materials.
All products coming in,
but
gotta be
everything's made
trucked
with
in.
caprolactam, everything, which is a chemical of nylon, or made for plastic, or everything's got fuel in it.
If you had to bring in any kind of products from anywhere, it's got to be trucked by Teamsters somewhere, right?
The truck.
So if gas costs are almost double, that means
And the
they gotta
machines that
raise,
make it.
right? And the machines to make it. That means all your food prices, whatever
There
they're
you go.
carrying, or products, got to go up, and that's going to go on the individuals again, on us.
So now you're talking about fracking. So now the question is, I don't know enough about fracking. Okay.
We have enough.
Do you know anything about fracking?
Yes, and what they're
Is
doing
it real? Do we have enough in this country that we don't have to go elsewhere?
Of course, we have more than any country combined. But the problem is they're lying about fracking too. They're not giving permits to continue to frack. So they manipulating facts. So they'll say, "Oh, we're drilling. No, you're not. These are drilling permits that were already given by President Trump in the past. They stopped fracking. They were against fracking. She
Because of
campaigned on
because
it.
of environmental stuff.
No, that's all bullshit on the environment. Battery
because-
operated. Do you know battery operated is more damage to the atmosphere than
Yeah, I've
than
heard
fracking?
that.
And the more
landfill
China,
part,
and
getting rid of it.
Venezuela,
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
all the lithium and everything
Yeah.
they got to dig for, how they process it. So this is all bullshit story to the
Well,
public.
look, the way I see this all, okay, is that everybody has to dig deep and say what they really believe and what they think is right for their grandchildren or their children.
They're too stupid.
No. Hold on a second. Everyone, whoever's listening to this, needs to say to themselves, whether you're a 15-year-old, a 20-year-old. I'll give you an instance. I was with my.
Do you know who the dumbest voters are in the dumbest voting block in America? The dumbest voting block, sorry to say.
Yeah.
And I keep sticking
Yeah.
up for them. Is women. They're the dumbest voting block ever. They're going to get their kids drafted into the wars. They're dying from fentanyl. They can't buy a house because of inflation rates,
Well,
and they want to vote left.
With all due respect, I know you're
insane.
generalizing for the moment, but I
Well,
know
I'm
what you're
talking
saying.
about the majority.
Yeah,
now.
no. What you're saying is their exposures, because my wife is smarter than me. I
crazy,
can tell you
man.
that. So
Yeah,
but I know it's an emotional situation.
Well, I lost my daughter, so
Yeah.
I know what they're doing with fentanyl. So I'm going to be relentless on this because they're
Oh,
killing
by the
our
way,
kids every day.
if anyone doesn't know who's watching this, that your daughter has passed away from some motherfucker slipping in there and getting it, landing in her body, and you lost your baby girl. That's Teshuva. May the world be behind
As
you
much
and
as-
move forward. And for everyone, I'm sorry, I have to say something else because it was on my mind. And for every other person who decided that the life wasn't the right life because they knew it wasn't right, you're okay to make a U-turn if you're leaving something bad. You know what Lashon Hara means? Lashon Hara is a Hebrew word that means one tongue kills three. So if I say something about John to you that's wrong, he gets hurt because you won't believe it because I put it in your head. You get hurt because you can't give him a trust. And you're looking at me like, this guy's talking bad. He's going to be talking bad about me. So Lashon Hara means one tongue kills three, right? So when someone's in the life, it's a game of Lashon Hara now. Everyone's sitting there just kind of like, so leave the life, leave the Lashon Hara, the sin of Lashon Hara, no more. You worry about the family of your blood, you worry about the family of your blood, and you made great decisions. Now, I'm not disrespecting anyone in their life. I personally believe if that's what they want, that's what they want. I grew up with the Frenzizis, by the way. Gia Frenzisi was my friend, and Tina. I'll never forget that. Tina was next door. The two guys come over. Everyone's like, holy shit, But Sonny was a legend in my neighborhood. So, but my point is,
Sonny
that was the life.
legending him up.
Yeah, no, he was the real deal. So, I mean, I maybe saw him twice, but I don't want to say. But anyway, so my point is that if somebody wants the life, it's like me to say, you want to go ahead and hang from buildings. The Albanians, right? They came in this country, and you know who I'm talking about? They hung from every skyscraper in the damn city. Holy shit, what a set of balls. Now the guy's the wealthiest guy.
David, you got to remember.
You understand what I'm saying? I don't pass judgment.
What
I'm saying is, if you make a choice to protect your family, that's your
You know how
choice.
infuriating it is to have a VP that wasn't voted in to be in office to run for president. She blatantly lies and said she didn't open that border. And she fought and she sued
Oh, that's what
Texas
I
and
meant to
sued
say.
Arizona. She has lied nonstop, insulting me and every parent that lost their
Did you ever
kid.
see Gangs of New York with Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yeah, of course.
One of the greatest movies, right? If you're watching the movie, my Irish friends, we've had discussions when this movie's out. You know who you guys are. And what happened was they were letting people in the droves. They hey, welcome to America. They'd give them a uniform. You got to see the movie. And the Democrats, not just the Democrats, politicians, here, welcome. They let people in so they can vote for the person who let them in. It's been going on since 1776.
The
You come
mob
in.
did this years ago. We put people up to become politicians so we could control them. I mean, they're not doing anything that I don't
But
see
it's
through
gangster
them.
101.
Yeah, we see
Right.
what they're doing. I mean, it's obvious. They're
I was
manipulative.
exposed to-
It's just that they hate Donald Trump because he exposed it all. They could say anything they want about the guy. All I could keep
You bring
saying
up
is
another good
Donald
point.
Trump because he would be the guy that would save our kids. He'd be the guy that comes out front. Just what he's
Do I
doing.
hear a great analogy
And
about
he's a
Trump?
fighter, no different than Dennis, what we said earlier.
Yeah,
I don't know
100%.
an individual that gets shot at that comes up like that.
Unbelievable.
I mean, we're used to it because we were on the street getting shot
Oh,
at. So
I
I
never
know
got shot
exactly
at. I
what
never
he
got shot.
what he did.
But all I could tell you is that I thought about this the other day. One of my heroes in my life, and my mother was listening to this, was Muhammad Ali.
Great guy.
I mean,
knew my father.
The way he would,
Same name as my father, so they were friendly. Yeah, my father
Really?
met him as a kid.
He was my hero. He was the guy. I didn't have to go to
This before he was famous. Him and my father met. Actually, my father was driving a cab.
Jimmy's.
at
You
the
know
time.
Jimmy's Corner on 46th Street?
Yeah, yeah. Of course.
A shout out, God rest Jimmy's soul. If you ever go to Jimmy's Corner on 46 and 6, it's a boxing bar.
Yeah.
And it's got pictures of the whole history of boxing. It's phenomenal. So that's how I grew up watching the Olympics, Mark Braylon and Parnell Whitaker
Sure,
with the
yeah.
white tips. They're
Mark
fucking
Brother
heroes.
used to fight over too with Lost Battalion on Queens Boulevard too.
Yeah, no, he was in that
Yeah,
neighborhood,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I thought these guys were my heroes. Sugar Ray, my hero. Anyway, I can go on forever about my heroes. But I used to sit there in the TV holding on to the hanger so I get the reception and just fucking drool these guys. But Ali used to always say, he's the greatest. I'm the greatest, right? And I used to say to myself, what a fucking confident motherfucker. But you know what? He'd win and he'd win and he'd win. And he'd say he's the greatest. You never heard anyone complain about it. Now
He's going to be the greatest. I said it earlier.
if you don't think you're the greatest, then no one's going to think it for you.
you.
That's what I tell my
Right.
kids. If you don't think you're the greatest, no one's going to think it for you.
I'm going to say it on every show because
Yeah.
I know it's going to happen.
There's another Albanian
Thank
in
you,
Brooklyn and Bay Ridge. If you watch this, him and I sparred once. He had a V like this. He had the two eagles. The guy put me up with him because I was kind of pretty much beating up everyone else in my age. And this guy was 26 years old. He comes out. I'm like, this fucking guy looks good, man. Like, are you sure? He goes, no, you'll be fine, man. You hit good. The first round, I was popping him really
We
good.
get it on the air. I get ringside seats for life when he's
I
champ.
want to do that. And all of a sudden, the Albanian comes out in the second round and beat the piss out of me. And he knows who he is. So please try to reach out. What's your name?
Dennis
Dennis.
Bazookia.
Daniel Bazukia. Okay.
You said
Connect.
it
Because
good,
this kid,
Bazookia. You said
Yeah.
it good. Can you say my
Bazukia.
last
Yeah,
name?
the
That's
Albanian
pretty good.
respect. So my point is, this guy reach out to you. This kid I'm talking about, I used to work out with him at Gleason's. Fucking no one's going to beat this kid. Anyway, please try to reach out. So going back to the immigrant thing, my daughter at one time was at university and she was like just bashing the whole Trump thing, Trump. I said, honey, slow down. Why do you hate Trump? Because everyone else hates Trump. Okay, slow down. She said, he says no to immigrants. He hates Mexicans. I said, oh, wait, honey. First of all, the Latino community is the smartest community in America. And this is another thing I meant to say. I think the Puerto Ricans are the smartest Americans, and they don't get enough shout out
Because they're street smart too.
they're
and you
street
can't take
smart
nothing off
and they're book smart, and you know what? They care what people think.
Look at that camera. 3 million illegal immigrants were kicked out of this country by Obama. So when people don't know what they're talking about, he kicked out the most ever any president. Obama.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know about Google
You
that.
know, I'll throw numbers at everybody.
No.
all day.
You're walking numbers, and you remember stuff from the craziest things. I have a lot of respect for your retainage. I have a couple of friends like that. This guy, if he's listening to the guys who work out with the champs, oh my God, Larry, he fought against Trinidad. And one day he's talking to me. He remembers everything.
Tito Trinidad?
Yeah, he fought Trinidad. Larry
He had
from
a
Mount
great
Vernon.
left hook.
Larry Holmes.
Jesus.
Is it Larry Holmes?
No, Larry Holmes.
No,
was
not
the
Larry Holmes.
heavyweight.
Larry something. I'm so sorry, Larry. So anyway, he says to me, he was remembering all these things. I go, Jesus, Larry, how do you remember everything? He says, Dave, when you're a black dude hanging out in Mount Vernon and you don't have an alibi, you better remember every goddamn thing you do every damn minute. And he would talk about
I wonder if
things.
he knew Puff Daddy there, Pete
Who?
Diddy.
Who, me?
Larry, because he was in
Oh.
Mount Vernon.
Oh, yeah, no, they definitely do. He would
Yeah,
tell me
but
he
he ain't,
did.
he ain't
He
his
was-
friend. Larry's not
Just look
friend.
for Larry Mount Vernon versus Trinidad, and you'll see who I'm talking about. He's a great guy. I love Larry. So I said to my daughter, I said, honey, listen, you can't say that. I said, there's no doubt. I mean, saying these things might seem bad, but that might not be the truth. She said, what do you mean? I said, honey, sit down. We watched Scarface together. I said, just watch this movie. In the first 10 minutes, she was like, oh my God, because Fidel Castro dumped all his prisoners. Dumped them. They came into Miami. They terrorized the place. I said, do you want that? Oh, no. I said, okay. So let's be careful who we take. And I take if someone's not good and they can be good and they didn't do anything,
Well, that's a prime example. I lived in Cuba when I went on the run.
Oh, right.
And I was at rallies with Castro. I met his kids.
Really?
Yeah, I met all of them. I had no idea who they were at the time. And my friends were all nervous at the time when I met them. Anyways, his sons were actually very polite to me. They could have told me to go F myself. I was in place. They were coming in front of me. But they didn't, I got to say. But people are intimidated to say that they don't like the regime. And the Cuban people are the greatest people. I got to tell you the truth. So nice, so
Yeah.
friendly.
Yeah.
And they suffer like crazy. But again, this is the same thing. They won't talk against the regime because they're scared about
Well,
retribution.
this is what we don't want to end up, because that's where they end up. They end up where no one could talk. No one has an opinion.
Well, that's why the Palestinians, too. They're not talking against Hamas because they're scared. They live there. They'll kill them. They'll torture them. They'll butcher
We
them.
know what they'll do. Listen, what happened on October 7th is a barbaric act to incite Israel because
So how does Kamala Harris not back? Did you see what she said about the Prime Minister of Israel? No. She wouldn't even say.
This is why I'm
She's a coward.
I'm not responding because am I all in like I am? Do I want to alienate someone who might very well be at that helm? And
Yeah, I do though.
Yeah,
I got no qualms with that.
No. Listen,
she has no business there. She didn't earn it there.
No,
she wasn't elected there. She wasn't voted there. She's a fraud. She couldn't get 1% vote. I don't care. I'm very voiceless about this.
But hold on a second.
Because you got to fight now for our kids and
thing?
grandkids.
If she's married to a Jew, what would us think that she's anti-Jewish? I think it's.
Well, he ain't the greatest guy either. He beat up his ex-girl. This guy has been around too. He's no angel.
But I don't get. Listen, I don't want to get too deep on it because I don't know all the facts. I just know the shit that's always posted and I'm reading and my head's
What's
spinning.
his name? Ainhoff or something. I forget his last name. Ainhoff, whatever his name is.
Yeah. So, but here's my point.
He didn't believe in women's rights when he cracked the crap out of his girlfriend.
Yeah, I read about that too.
Yeah.
So what I'm just saying is, the only one of modern time that was righteous was Mother Teresa.
But David, I'm going to tell you when
when
we're threatening democracy is when people are afraid to say what I'm saying because they're scared of being retributed by the government. They're scared they're going to get locked up like Navarro got locked up, like Roger Stone got locked up, like General Flynn got locked up, the way they locked up President Trump. This isn't democracy anymore. What is everybody not seeing?
That people see it. And
what
vote.
else is there not to see? They're scared to say anything. They see it.
Just go in the curtain and vote.
This is how Germany started.
Go in the curtain and vote. I agree with you. Go in the curtain and vote. But,
look at Trump's kids. Honestly, I've been there. They're so nice to everybody, so down to earth. It's like meeting anybody in the street. They're such a good family.
I know.
It has nothing to do with, forget it, politics out the side.
Donald Trump,
these are very wealthy people, don't act like that. And I know everybody that works at stores in there and everything. They all said the same thing. This is not a show. They treat them with such dignity every day. That's why I said I really, really, years ago we went to a boxing match. Danny Aiello, Roger King, that's how I originally
met. The actor Danny Aiello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Prince Badi, who's a black fighter, fought Roy Jones Jr., my good friend.
Is that the Muslim from
Denny
London?
Brown. No, he's from Canada.
You know what I'm talking about? You ever see that one guy that lefty?
President Trump gave us the seats in front of him, and he took the seats behind him. I tell everybody, that'll tell you about a human being. He owns the hotel. He's the guy he's a billionaire, and he stepped back and took seats behind. Who does that? They give you seats and go sit behind me, and they're great seats.
He's a Queens boy.
They're ringside seats. Mm-hmm. And he still let us sit in front. I ended up going. I had to leave at the time because I had a problem. I ended up leaving, but they all sat there. If you watch all the video, you'll see them in front of him. Now, when people talk
I
bad
admire
about
what
him,
he's doing.
the guy is such a
He could be
gentleman.
playing golf 5 days a week. He could be sitting there just, making sure his trust is in order for his family and his qualified kids can go ahead and, take it to wherever they want to take it. But he knows if he leaves in his mind.
Watch his videos 30 years ago when they asked him.
I know, I saw those. Those are very.
They all loved him, right? Oprah Winfrey kissed his ass.
You know what? You remember what Don Corleone said? As long as your interests don't conflict with my interests, I wish you well. And you know what? His interests are conflicting with the new gangsters' interests.
Well, the new gangsters' issues.
And by the way, it's both sides. I mean, there's gangsters all over the place.
Which is, again with Schwab and what's his name there, the instigator around the world, Soros.
Yeah.
These guys, which is really is dictatorship, communism.
Insanity. It's insanity.
This is what they want. They don't want. They use these fancy words. Globalism ain't globalism. Their end game is to control the world.
What is his end game when the Jews are dead? What is
he's a Jew.
That's what I'm saying. So what's his end game? Someone's got. What's his end game? Maybe he doesn't think. I just can't imagine.
His end game is a devil. You believe in God? I love God. I believe in faith. I believe in what this hat says, right? But when you get to that point in your life, when you're looking to do the right thing in your life and not the wrong thing, that man has no soul. He don't give a shit about nothing. For what he's caused so much conflict and death.
The guys that you have here, Gene, and a couple other fellows, I haven't met Gene, and I just want to give a shout out. I had a situation in Brooklyn. I don't know if you caught that part. When one family and another family tried to get him on me, and
Junior helped you.
Yes, and so I'm forever grateful for him. Yeah. So and I hope you guys find your Teshuva.
I moved on in my life, and so did he.
I just wish you and Junior get past it because you both
are
dear friends in your life.
Yeah,
and I just hope that you guys could do more together. They say a heavy heart.
I look at things in a different light because I'm doing different things. I look at things for the future of these kids that are growing up now.
And that's what my point is. So you got Ruggiero here, you have Gene here, and you forgive me because I'm not remembering all the names that you've had.
My
here.
respect, honestly, is to guys
Those
like
guys
like Dennis. Positive people are positive role models for kids. We can all do negative things. That was my whole life 20 years ago.
So what I'm saying is, and what I'm saying is that when I met Junior after he was released, because I was grateful and he was grateful, and he said thank you, and I said thank you, and I said to him, John, it takes a tough guy to be a good guy, and he was, what do you mean? I'm like, it's easy to just pop someone. It's easy to fucking get out of the car and smack someone. It's easy to
still got a good jab.
Yeah, no, I like to just keep them away, strike, but it's very tough not to hit the guy who's completely crossing the line. It's very tough to take the high road, right? And when you turn it upside down, you realize, like that thing that happened with his daughter, right? He held his cool. I was really impressed with him. I mean, whatever. So I don't want to get there.
Well,
but
people are going to challenge you all the time. I said that to him earlier. They don't know who he is. They run into him. He looks like just a nice guy. They don't know that he's going to beat 99% of guys.
And that's
I don't
another
care
thing.
what size
when
they
you go
are.
out at night and someone
they
says
don't know.
stuff, the first thing I say to my friends is, if someone's yapping, I mean, I don't go out anymore. I'm married for 33 years. But like, if I go out at night and someone says something, or for wherever I am, I go, this guy can't be a fighter. What fighter? Talk shit.
No, they won't.
Right.
They'll be gentlemen because they're secure.
And
there is no
not
ego.
secure, but they also know they could do something.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Did you
They're
see
very
that
secure.
Oklahoma kid who hit the wide receiver? Google that one.
No,
This
I
big
gotta check
wide
it out.
receiver, tight end at Oklahoma was talking shit to a kid who looked like you. And kids like, whoa, slow down. But he was big man on campus and he was talking shit. And the kid, boom, and punches. And the guy went down. He couldn't play football anymore. You don't talk shit. If you have good hands and you could do a good down and out, you run a good 40, stick to that. Don't talk to somebody if you don't know what's going to happen. So, and that took a lot from me. By the way, I also trained with Chuck Zito, right? I know you're from. And I just want to give him a shout out, by the way, because the year I spent with him, I've learned about how a tough guy really is a gentleman. And
well, he got out of the life years ago as an angel.
I went out with him one night. He had a Coca-Cola. I don't need this shit.
Well, my friend became the president after him. He passed away, and I always talk about Gregory Hines. They call him Pepe. We call him Pepsi in our neighborhood. And
I just want to say, what a gentleman, what an incredible fighter, and here's back to Teshuva, okay? And that's what I was talking about, Gene, Ruggiero, all these guys. For all of you guys who have decided to not be in the life, don't disrupt their life, stay away from the life, go on with your life, but you know who you are. These are the people that I think people should embrace. There's no doubt in my mind what work that you guys might have done is clearly not on God's list of things to do, but you also lived in a situation. So, and my point is, I really want everyone to cheer on the people. Now, look, if there's people who this guy spoke, you know what, that's
there's always going to be haters.
There's always going to be someone's going to find fault.
You said it earlier. You got 50% of people are going to talk good about you. The other 50%, who knows what they're going to.
My point is, I was never in the life. I was a peripheral person with my grandfather, and he made it that way. And you know why he made it that way? I'm so glad I remembered this. I'm turning to you. I remember things. Is that my grandfather used to say to me when he used to.
Walter laughs when you.
Yeah, right. Because he just remembers stuff, right? Is that my grandfather used to say to me, "You do this so the Jews are protected." Okay, so he would go here. We'd go to Gargiulo's. We'd go here. We'd sit there, and all this guy. I don't want to say names. Morris Levy, I could say, he passed away, the music guy, right?
And I want to condolence and my wishes for the Ryder family because Mark Ryder just passed away.
You mentioned that, I heard that.
And really one other very special friend of mine. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's sad. A lot of these guys, Fat Man Scoop was a tremendous friend of mine. And I have all voicemails on my DM because he never used to text, he voicemailed me. And it's such a shame. And when I heard that he passed, he had a heart attack on stage, and we were talking and back
on
and
stage.
Forth. Yeah. And they couldn't save him. And
what do you mean he was performing?
Performing, yeah. He was one of the greatest DJs ever. I got to tell you, and one of the nicest human beings ever. And I got to tell you, when I heard he passed, it was just.
He died with what he loved to do.
Love, and he was a big ear and a big voice in my ear constantly, keeping me on the straight and narrow and doing the right thing with my life. And he's a great man, really great man.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Well,
your legacy is his legacy. You carried on. My buddy Scott Kay, who's the same way. every day I wake up, Scott, what are we doing today? Mark, what are we doing today? You know, take his spirit with you. You know
he
what
was
I'm saying?
really one of those guys that was just
He's a Jewish guy?
no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
Scoop was just
Was Ryder Howard Beach guy?
Mark Ryder was
Yeah.
Howard Beach. Not originally, but yeah, later on.
Okay.
And then he moved out to Merrick and then Manhattan and Jewish, had a place in.
Who's that?
in- Mark was Jewish.
Oh, he was Jewish, okay.
Yeah, had a condo in Israel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so he just passed in jail. He had a life sentence. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. So just to jump out of respect to Mark, I think he'd appreciate this. So my grandfather, no matter what he did, whatever piece he made, he never had his hand out. He never did any work, as you would call it. He just made sure that he was trusted by everybody. The things he did for these people, I'm still going to keep close to my chest. I'd sit in these meetings, and he would just say, my grandson. He said, whatever, I didn't want to say it. And my point is, we'd always leave, and he'd say the same thing over. You're doing it so the Jews are protected.
Yeah.
So for anyone who thinks I'm trying to say that I am what I think, my grandfather did all this, but he did it so that he can call in a favor.
Yeah.
And say, don't let this happen. So what happened with Meyer Lansky and that Judge Larry something, I can't remember, in 1939 with the beating.
What's his name? Perlman or something?
Perlman, thank you. He was, in his mindset,
Told you I got a good memory.
yeah, no, it's amazing. I can't believe you nailed it. So, but you know, he used to say the fucking Nazi bastards. That was his motto.
We got.
And I live with that too.
I don't want to cut you.
Yeah,
off. We got 2 minutes. We got to wrap
Yeah.
up.
But God bless.
You have
yeah.
anything to say before we wrap up? Anything that you want somebody to follow?
I think you got a
or
great
any
platform
stuff?
here.
Thank
I
you.
think what you're doing is great. You know, with the, I didn't really get to talk about the things that I enjoy to do to help youth make good decisions, but you clearly are very active in that, and you got to continue with that mission. And you know, do you know the story about the Nobel? Did I ever tell you that one? The Nobel. The Nobel Prize is an interesting story, right? The Nobel guy died, and then the paper said, "This is the guy who invented dynamite, and this is the man who figured out how to kill the most people at one time." The guy wasn't dead. He read it. He calls up and goes, "That's my brother who died." So he freaked out. So he made a thing called the Nobel Prize, which is the one who's done the best thing for the world. The guy was very rich. So the guy who wins Nobel Prize is the one who's done the most best for the world. So there's no doubt in my mind. So that whatever dynamite you had in your life now could finish off with the award to the person and however you fit to get your blessing.
Oh, by the way, I
do
got to
good.
apologize because before I
Right?
called
You
Eddie
understand
Rama,
that?
the
Yeah.
president of Albania, I didn't say the prime minister. I don't know what I was thinking. Eddie Rama's the
What about him?
prime. I called him president of Albania. It's prime minister.
And
So
what is this now? Are you saying?
who did the speaking at the United Nations? I
Yes.
said earlier.
Yes.
So I misspoke. I called him the
Oh,
president.
you're correcting
instead
yourself?
of
That's so
prime
funny.
minister. Yeah.
You do your own editing?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I don't know.
That's
Yeah, I do my
amazing,
own
man.
editing, and
Yeah.
and I got to say a shout out to Commander Mali and Macedonia prison and his guys. Always hello to you, and I wish people would support him more. Thanks, everybody. Follow me, subscribe my channel, write me any kind of comments you want on this show, other shows. Follow Dennis, his career, and David. Thank you very much, and
Thank
the
you for
work you're
having me.
doing for the kids.
And
Really
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. You as well.